Jamil here from NYC Art Handlers in Brooklyn. Today, we are going to show you how to make a shadow box for a piece. First step, get your piece laid down flat on a surface, table, sawhorses, whatever you have. You're going to put your cardboard down and then your piece on top of it. And just like all the other videos, it's really important to position your piece on there prior. When you're making a shadow box, you're essentially creating big deep sides all around it. But you don't necessarily need the whole sheet of cardboard. So the first thing I do is do the math on that. This is a regular 4x8 sheet, but obviously for this piece, we don't need to use all of this material. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this because I've already trimmed it for you. We'll slide this thing over. In order to make a proper shadow box, this is what you're gonna need. You need your plastic, your paper tape, PVC tape, tape measure, and a blade. It also is very helpful to have a level nearby or any type of straight edge because it's going to help you with the scoring later. The goal is to create very deep sides on all four edges of the piece so that when you do cover it, whatever material you're using, which is the plastic in this case, hovers above the surface of the piece so that nothing, and I mean nothing, touches it. And you can see how the texture of the piece actually rises above the frame. That's why we're making a shadow box for this piece. Alrighty, and if you don't take that into consideration when you're packing this and say you put it in a slipcase, you got problems. You might just wrap this in plastic and you may end up with problems. Is this the painting? You don't want anything on it. Alrighty, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. So you get your tape measure out and you measure it. Because this piece of cardboard we know is standard and it is 48 by 96, means it's 48 this long, 96 that long, and we've already cut that excess off. This is 38, so what we're gonna do is take 5 inches, because we add 10 to 38, you get 48. Alrighty, because you're gonna have 5 on this side, 5 on that side, and because mathematically it works out for this sheet of cardboard, we're also going to do 5 inches here and 5 inches here. So the goal is to have 5 inches all the way around. Take your tape measure out. So I'm putting that 5 and I'm making a little puncture mark in the cardboard. I'm going to do that again right here. You hear that noise? That's what you're listening for. And I'm going to do it here. And then one more time right there. Now we have all those little puncture marks. Now you break out your straight edge and you put it at those little puncture marks that we put on there. Got your blade. You see how I'm moving with the straight edge? So I keep this accurate. I got a pretty good wingspan, but not that good. So if you go one of these, by the time you get here, this probably slides a little bit. And you want this nice and tight, all right? You'll hear that a lot in these videos that we're making. We like things tight. And do the same thing here. Get that lined up. Apply pressure down with a straight edge and run your blade. And remember, the knife is put away during this process. This is what we're going for here. And that's our 5 inches, okay? See what we're saying, right? 5 inches. 5 inches. Unlike the slipcase, you don't cut this corner away. You keep this material. Okay, and then you get your little tab up like that. Now you see I take the tabs, fold these things up like that, just to make sure they're gonna do exactly what we want them to do. Now we know this is straight because it's following the edge of this cardboard. So we have a nice 90-degree angle. You bring that up, you bring that in. See that nice corner that we've created? So the first thing I do, take that tape, put it all the way down at that bottom. Put some good pressure on it too, so you know it's not coming out. Raise that up, fold that over. See how I have this long? I'm not wasting material here. This, you're gonna wanna pull underneath. You make that really good and tight. You can take another one and go like that with it. And I'll explain why we do this process toward the end. We do it like this, so when it's time to take this out of the shadow box, it will make a big difference. Now we have the piece. You see that? See how it fits into this corner? We have plenty of room to protect this surface now, because the material, the plastic we put on this is going to rest up here, not down here at the frame. If you don't have that, and you have little gaps here, some of that action, when you do this, it's going to look all country. It's not going to do the job it's supposed to. So everything should be nice and tight. If you make your shadow box perfect with right angles, and it's great, but the piece itself is a little cattywampus, well, there's nothing you can do about that. You're gonna figure out how to make it look good anyways, all right? So stay with me. You can get a good look at that corner from over there, because when I do this next move, I'm pushing it in there, make sure it's nice and tight. Get your tape measure again, double check, make sure you're looking good, and we are. We like our 5s, our 4 7/8, but close enough. You take your blade out again, except now we don't need to make those puncture marks because the piece is set. You see how I'm doing this? The piece runs alongside the blade. Don't actually touch it. Just right next to it. Now, if anyone out there is uncomfortable taking a blade, even if it's put away, and running it next to the piece, you can then take your tape measure again, do those same puncture marks, remove the piece, and use a straight edge. I've been doing it a long time. I'll just leave the piece in there when I do it. But that's just a little tip for you. And you take that level, put it up alongside it. You can also use this adjustable square when you get to these corners. You can put that down like this. These are all these little tricks that you can use to get the goal. I have a nice straight angles. I don't need to use this. I just eyeball it. The idea is notice I always give it a little pre-bend, just to make sure it's going in the right direction. Now we fold that up. Same thing here. Fold that up, put that in, and that looks really good. And we're going to test our last corner here, and that looks pretty good. And at this point, you just work your way around, holding that thing down, getting your tape ready, applying that pressure. And you can notice that every time I do a corner, I hang that corner off the table so that when I have the tape, I'm able to do this thing, just like that. All right, just keep sliding it around, get your tape, put it on that corner. Okay. And you go along and you do that also. Now that other piece of tape, I could have obviously done that when I put the first piece of tape on there, but I didn't. I forgot. As long as it's there. Now that we have all four sides created, this is a shadow box, everybody. But I think it's necessary that we cover how you take the piece out of the shadow box. It's really simple, but if you don't follow these instructions, you could really do some damage if you encounter one of these and you're saying, how do I get it out of here? The reason I've taped it the way I have is so that when you are ready to take this out of the shadow box, you release it here, there, and you get the corners loose, and you just take the tension off. And you really only have to do 2 sides. You could do 3, okay? See how you have access to the piece now? You can do 1 more if you feel the need to. You just cut those little tabs of tape, and then it's ready to come back out, all right? So give me a minute while I put this back together, and then we'll continue on with this process. Okay, now we are back to the next step. We've created a shadow box. Only thing left to do is put some plastic over the face of this. See how I'm using the actual piece itself to gauge how much material I need. And now it's time to use the other PVC tape. I'm gonna hang it over the edge so you can see what I'm doing here. See how I'm getting that plastic half on, half off? That's what we're trying to go for, okay? Just that, like that. I take a little tab of tape, put it more or less there in the middle, apply a little pressure. Okay, see how we're looking good? Side to side, we're more or less there. See how I'm looking at this? I'm pulling it in a little bit. We're gonna wanna trim this right along there, right about halfway. You get your blade out. Okay. Put that tape on there first and really apply some pressure, okay? You want these two to be stuck together really well when you do this next part. We are now beginning to do the part that the shadow box actually does, which is hold this painting in place. There's a gap there right now. And when I pull this down, see how it disappears? Just like in the other videos that I've made for wrapping a piece in poly, use the tape to apply a little bit of pressure. And tuck that underneath. We're going to do the same thing. You take a look at it, you eyeball it, and you say, let's trim this. And obviously, it's not perfect when you're trimming it because you're going to put tape on this whole seam. And you always start from the middle. That looks about the middle, more or less. I'm going to pull that down, just enough. When you hook it around, it helps it hold. We weren't filming right now, I'd be walking all around this table. And then one more time, take a look at it, trim it down, and then we'll start somewhere in the middle. You see that gap? See how it disappears? That's what's doing the job of holding this piece in place. Break your tape, fold it under. We are there. We now have all 4 sides tabbed, and you look at the top here, you can see that like diamond-ish shape, let you know there's tension in those areas. You pick a side, any side, and begin to work your way from the middle out. Just take note of how I'm holding this tape. It's at a slight angle going this way toward the corner. You're always pulling it toward the corner. And hook it under. Get that tape set and pull it toward the corner. Do the same thing here. You don't have to do that many of these, but you want to make sure you have enough on there to hold this plastic in place. And then whatever you do here, you're going to go to the opposite side and do the same thing. I won't be going to the opposite side. I'm going to slide the piece around. Only thing left to do, you're gonna put tape along that edge and seal it. That's why I was pretty adamant about getting this plastic half on, half off. Take it. Make it nice and clean, nice and tight. Pretty much do that all the way around it. And I'll do 2 sides so that I can spin the piece and then get the rest. You get my shoes in the shot? Make sure you get the shoes. It's important. This bad boy is done. That's a shadow box, everybody. So listen. That's what you're listening for when you make a shadow box, okay? You want these sides tapered in just a bit, and you want that plastic tight. Not so tight that it folds this the cardboard in, but tight, that you get that sound. When you get your shadow box, just go like that, then you know you got it. I want to say thanks again for tuning in to the How to Be an Art Handler series. This is one in a series of many videos that we've been making on teaching people how to pack up their art and get it ready. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to go back into the video. It's pretty, descriptive, and it'll show you step by step how to get here. And also, if you have any questions about any other processes, the links to the videos are in the description. So check it out, and thanks again.